Hey guys, I'm Jacinta Robinson, and welcome to the Fearlss podcast, where I interview athletes who've achieved incredible things. Today's guest is an Australian Olympic race walker. On the podcast today, we speak about what is race walking and how does it get judged. We also speak about training and mindset at that Olympic level, and then we dive in deep into how important recovery is, especially as an athlete. We also speak about some other things that this athlete has gone through, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate to it. I'd like to welcome Dane Birdsmith. Over the last 10 years, you have been competing in race walking. And in 2016, you won a bronze medal at the Rio Olympics. In 2017, you set a new PB for yourself of 1 hour, 19 minutes and 28 seconds at the World Championships in London for the 20 kilometers. In 2018, you won at the Commonwealth Games in the Gold Coast. Welcome to the podcast, Dane.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here today.
I'm so excited to have you on board. I've got an Olympian on today, and you are super tall.
Yeah, probably a lot taller than most of the race walkers around, and yeah, pretty tall for just an average bloke.
Is that a general thing, like with height, like with race walking? Do you have majority taller people, or are they kind of like mid or short or?
Well, I don't know how much of me is in shot right now, but I'm a pretty skinny bloke. I'm 188 centimeters and 71 kilo, 71, 72 kilo.
Yeah.
So it's pretty skinny.
You're light.
Fat percentage of about 6% or something ridiculous.
Wow.
But believe it or not, I'm one of the heaviest and one of the biggest race walkers by far out there at the recent world champs that we were at.
Yeah.
The average guys in the top 10 are around 55 to 60 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, they are stick thin guys.
That's like nearly 20 kilos lighter than me.
Yeah. No, it's really frustrating for me as well, because I'm thinking here going, this is a tough 20K today. I wonder why it's hurting so much. And then I look at these other guys and they're walking around as just stick thin going, I'm carrying basically an extra car tire compared to them.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you probably couldn't really get too much leaner because you're lean as it is now.
Well, this is one of the predicaments where we're chatting with the nutritionist, you got to maintain your weight. You can't go too lean, otherwise you get sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those tough things. How do you cut weight without getting ill, I guess?
And still looking healthy and not gaunt in the face.
Still being healthy, yeah.
Yeah. So race walking is like a unique sport. How did you get into it?
My race walking started way back in year 10 in high school. I was headed out to a district competition for athletics.
Yeah.
And usually I just did everything, I just loved competing. I did the 100 all the way through to the 3K. I did javelin, high jump, long jump. Just put me in everything and I'll have a crack.
Were you one of those kids that would get like the medallion for?
Yeah, I was one of those kind of guys. One of those overachievers, But it was never in terms of I never wanted the glory or overachieving or anything. I just loved to have a crack at everything. So I just ended up in every event.
Yeah.
And I would always give my best, which means, no matter what someone's doing, if someone gives their best, they're usually going to go pretty well.
Yeah.
And and it just happened that we went to this district carnival and I'd done all my events for the day, and the teacher came up and she said, "Look, Dane, we're a couple points shy of getting the district carnival trophy. We'd like you to go and do the 3-kilometer race walk." And I sat there and I said, I've never race walked in my life. Never. My dad's a dual Olympian in the sport.
Yeah.
But I have never tried it. When I did little athletics, I always used to take the piss out of it. I'd pull my pants up real high, Harry high pants, and Kath and Kim stroll around the track. And Dad used to hate it, but I just always wind him up.
Yeah.
And I went, you know what? I'll take it as a challenge. This one day, I'm going to have a crack at race walking. Went in the 3K, finished third.
Wow.
Out of 3.
Oh. You did so well.
I know. I was overlapped twice by the other 2 guys.
Oh, really?
And there's only 7 laps to do. So it was a pretty poor showing. But I finished third. it got me through to the regional level.
Oh, wow.
So I was qualified and on my way, but I didn't want to make such an ass of myself in regionals.
Yeah.
So I started doing a little bit of secret training. I didn't want to tell my dad that I was doing it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of do it on my own, come out and surprise him. And at regionals, I finished third again. This time there were like 8 guys there.
Oh, cool.
And I didn't get lapped.
Yeah.
So I was stoked. There was all of a sudden there was this, I did some hard work and I got some rewards for it. So I was like stoked. I was like, young kid being like, oh, look what I can do. Like, this is pretty cool. Continued on, went to states, made it to the national level, and I ended up winning nationals in my first 4 months. So from absolutely rubbish to winning a national title within 4 months, because I just applied myself. I decided, well, I made it to the next level. I'm going to do an extra 2 training sessions a week. I made it to nationals. I'm going to train every single day.
Yeah.
And that was all that was needed, was just, I was already very, very good at running. So I had the fitness there. All I had to do was learn the technique, which is really difficult. It's tough to learn a technique, especially when you're a little bit older.
Yeah.
So I was probably lucky that I was just
How old were you?
surrounded with it. I was 16.
16.
Yeah. But I was surrounded by it when I was a kid. So probably osmosis wise, you just somehow it got into my brain and I just came a bit naturally, I guess.
Where you went.
Yeah.
So with your technique, tell me about it. Because I would run. I would be so excited. I would just run.
I mean, that's the question always is, okay, you got 20 meters, 100 meters to the finish line. There's a guy 10 meters in front of you. Do you just run past him? Well, no. Everyone who all the race walkers around the world, when they step onto the race course, we've all got this kind of, it's that agreement that we're all there to participate by the rules. And we're all doing that. And on top of that, there's also the judges there.
Yeah.
So the judges are there to make sure they enforce the 2 rules of race walking. And
what are they?
That would be when you land on your forward leg.
Yeah.
So as you take your step, you have to land with a straightened leg. So that's, imagine my elbow is my knee. It would be locking out and landing heel down and then pulling that leg underneath you. And so that's got to be straightened as you pull it through.
Okay.
And then the other rule is that before the rear leg leaves the ground, the front leg has to touch the ground. So you're maintaining contact.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what the judges are there. They're basically there to make sure. So all of this is like visual eye. So again, like gymnastics or surfing, diving, they watch the athletes do their turns in real time. And they judge the angles of their body and the difficulty and the techniques right there by their eye. And they're all professionally trained as well. So this is what they're looking at, and they monitor pretty much every step of the race. They're on a 1K course, there's 10 of them. They monitor both sides of the course, and they're spaced every 30 meters or so. So they're everywhere. They see everything.
Like a clump of you, going through, that would be quite challenging.
It would be really challenging, but that's what they're trained for. They've all done international levels of training where they go across and they do their courses, and they learn how to distinguish people who are in the middle of a pack of 5 or 6, and they'll go, or I can actually see in through there, that guy's not managing to keep his legs straight, or But the way the judging usually works is it makes our sport seem so much sadder, because everyone gets to the finish and then they get disqualified. Because the way it works is everyone's trying to do the right thing throughout the race. No one's gaining advantage, but it's as you get lactic acid build up, fatigue sets in, that's when the technique breaks down. It's similar to when you do a workout. If you're doing cleans and your first 10 in the reps are really great, perfect technique, you absolutely smash it, and then you get down the end, you've done a full circuit, you come back round and you're trying to do it again and it's just sloppy. Imagine if instead of finishing your workout, somebody just said, no, you're sloppy, now you're done, you don't get to finish.
It'd be heartbreaking.
That's what it's like at the Olympic Games. We get through 19 Ks. We've all saw the Olympics in 2000 with Jane Saville, famous race walker from Australia, getting disqualified as she entered the finish line, the stadium to go to the finish line. And she just gets pulled off. she was in the gold medal position, and that's her race done and dusted. But that's how our sport goes. Yeah.
Yeah. God, that's crazy. So for everyone listening, tell us exactly what race walking is.
So race walking is an Olympic event within track and field. We race the 20K and the 50K at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the junior athletes would be racing anywhere between 3K and 10K. And they would race on the track. And it's governed by these two rules of technique and
So do you get like your arms involved and walking as well, or is that?
No, 100%. So arm drive is actually a massive component in it. It's about whole body fluidity. So as you stride forward onto your left leg, you want to be making sure that the rotation is through you're rotating your hips to open to extend your stride as far as possible. But at the same time, you're counter rotating through your shoulders to drive your arms forward and get that arm drive to keep the momentum going forwards, because you have to overcome a braking force when you land straight leg forward and you make contact with the ground with a straightened leg. It means you're actually slightly braking, then you've got to overcome that force, and that's where that arm drive momentum comes from. So a lot of the studies show that it's around about 30% of your speed actually comes from arm drive, compared to running where it's maybe only 10%.
Get out.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. Like it's like that little, like a spring.
Huge amount of rotation. And it's why a lot of race walkers have to do quite a lot of abdominal work, especially for the rotational forces. There's a huge amount of rotation as we step onto our stride, and especially at the speeds that we go, which is upwards of 15 kilometers, 16 kilometers an hour for 20K, 50K.
Are you really serious?
Yeah, it's quick.
Holy hell. And wow, that's crazy. Like to think of like someone who's running, that's pretty quick.
Oh, it's quick. I mean, I did the Bridge to Brisbane this year, did the 10K, and I finished in 39 minutes 20.
You beat me and I was running.
And that's the thing is, most guys, I think I finished like 110th or something out of 30,000 people.
Yeah, wow.
And they're all running. And I race walked. And, that's up and down the hills as well, which race walking on hills is tough, I can tell you.
Yeah, because you've got the incline and the straight leg.
The incline's actually a little bit easier because I find that I'm quite strong, so I can power up.
Okay.
It's the decline where I'm trying to maintain technique and maintain contact with the ground that it's actually harder, because you have to lower yourself down onto a contact point below you.
Have you dropped back your speed going down a little bit?
Definitely, yeah. I always tend to drop back the speed as I go downhill, but uphill I can kind of maintain it. It's just more fatiguing for the body. Yeah.
Have you ever stuffed up and ran? Like, is that a common thing that?
No, I mean, there's been one or two races where due to collisions or because when you're race walking, the packs seem to get tighter and tighter. Everyone gets really close together. It's way more close knit than running.
Really?
So there's a lot of opportunity for contact. Me being one of the bigger guys, most people just tend to get out of my way, which is great.
Yeah.
But I had one race in Beijing.
Yeah.
We were coming around one of the top turns, and they thought it was a great idea to put little flower pots down and have little bushes on the turn, which wasn't a great idea, because as we came around one of the turns, a guy came in, cut me off in front of me, and he stumbled, grabbed the guy in front of his shirt, nearly fell down, and at the same time I tried to dodge that, stepped onto a flower pot, and the flower pot slid out, and I was like, this is just an absolute palaver right here. And you have to steady yourself so you don't hit the ground. So it was 2 or 3 steps to run to get back into your technique and get away from these two guys who are now on the ground in front of you. So I mean, there's always going to be those instances, but that's what the judges are there for as well. They don't just black and white, here's the rules, you broke the rules. It's, okay, he's stepped in a flower pot. That guy's fallen on the ground. I'm not going to give them a card and disqualify them for this. I'll just let them get back up, get back into the race and continue on, So there is always that humanity about it, which is thankfully yeah, is a great thing, I think.
And when you're tight, are you like, is there a rule around touching each other? Like, because you said that he grabbed his shirt. Is that all right?
I think that was total accident.
Okay.
I think he was just falling and flailing, and he was looking for something to hold on to. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he did. In hindsight, there probably could have been a protest, as there would be in any running race if contact's made. But there is a lot of people knocking shoulders and elbows and all sorts of things. Yeah, I'm lucky that being one of the taller ones, if I usually hit someone, it's totally by accident, but it's usually going to be in their shoulder or higher.
Yeah.
Whereas if they hit me, it's just in the side of the hip or on my elbow. So
Yeah.
not
The
a problem.
benefits of being tall.
Yeah, the benefits of being tall.
So tell me about, like, you're going into a race and like Beijing or the Commonwealth Games. What's the mindset leading up? Like, do you prep yourself for this event, or do you feel like you've done it enough that you just go in and happy days?
No, 100%. I think you have to build a mindset daily.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You can't switch on the day and just go, it's race day, let's do it. Yep, head down, get it executed. It's got to be something you build up day after day after day, and something that you can kind of form into your identity almost. So with the Rio Olympics, in 2012, I didn't make the team for the London Olympics. I actually tried and I had qualified with a time.
Yeah.
But there's 3 spots for every Olympic event, and only 3 people can be qualified for that event. I finished 4th by 3 seconds. 3 seconds. It was literally not even 10. It was like 10 meters or something.
Yeah.
And that meant that I wouldn't go to the London Olympics.
Yeah.
That was the difference. And I was pretty gutted at the time, but I kind of picked myself back up and I went to my coach and I was like, look, next Olympics, I don't want to be just the guy just trying to make the team. Like, that was all I planned on that year.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I did make the Olympics? That'd be cool. I'd try and qualify.
Yeah.
And because I set my bar here, that's kind of where I achieved. I didn't end up qualifying. But the next time I said, I'm setting my bar at, I'm not going to be the guy who just qualifies. I'm going to be the quickest Australian. End of story. I'm going to be the guy who goes to the Olympics. I'm going to do a PB. I'm going to be the fastest ever Australian ever at an Olympics.
Yeah.
And if I do that, then I should have a medal as well. And that's where I was aiming at.
Yeah.
4 years later, it was, for the entire year of leading up into Rio, I remember writing every time I'd have a shower. As the shower would fog up, I would write 1:19:30. And I would write it on the shower because I knew that was the time that would get me into the medals.
Yeah.
And it would mean that I was one of the fastest ever Australians to be at in Olympics. Wow. And every day I'd write it on the shower, 1:19:30, 1:19:30, 1:19:30. When I raced at the Olympics, 1:19:34, I think it was.
Wow.
So, I mean, I was pretty close, but
yeah.
And it was exactly where I wanted to be. I set that goal. I built the mentality over an entire year, of almost 4 years, of saying, I'm not going to accept anything less than this.
Yeah.
And every day that I said, I'm not going to accept anything less than a 1:19:30, I would then put in the work and I would make the steps happen, the process happen to get to that point.
And I think that's so important with anything in life. When you have a goal, like, set something that's shoot high.
Yep.
Because then when you don't sort of feel like doing it, then you'll remember that goal.
Yep.
And what you told yourself, and then that will help push you a little bit step closer, a little bit more, a little bit more.
100%. I mean, the sayings always be, shoot for the stars, you might land on the moon, kind of thing. And that's a great way of thinking it. But you shouldn't be disappointed, landing on the moon, not getting to the stars, because if you set yourself a crazy, crazy high thing, it may not be very realistic.
Yeah.
But the process of getting yourself to there, you're going to just be a better person for it. And at the end of the day, then you could go, okay, well, you've still got to remind yourself that was a crazy dream and that maybe it wasn't quite realistic this year, but give yourself some time. You might get there.
And I think too, when you can reflect back, it's actually the journey getting there.
100%. Yeah. The journeys are where everything really shapes. And when I look back at my medal, the race was great. It's a little bit of a blur, but I remember a lot more, all the training sessions, the tough ones, the ones where I had my mates around, I had my dad, my coach. they were the ones that I look back on and I go, wow, that was an amazing journey. And it was an amazing journey, not just because it ended as well as it did, but because it was just a fantastic experience, the whole thing.
Yeah. And have you had days that you were like, I don't want to train, or I don't want to eat well? Like, what do you do with mindset? Like, I know when I personally coach people, they're so hard on themselves, extremely. And being at an Olympic level, what is it like for you?
I'm extremely, extremely tough on myself. Probably the number one reason why I need a coach around is not because I need, training programs or to get pushed or to say, go out and do this. It's someone to say, you need to have a rest today. Slow down. Stop going so fast. Yeah. You're only supposed to do 8 reps, not 10. Stop it. And that's kind of that's just who I am though. That's just the way I've always been. If I can push myself, I will do it. And I will bury myself to get to that kind of point. But yeah, there's always days as well where, I get up and I don't feel like training. And usually it's more from a physical perspective because I do enjoy my training. And because I've made it into a habit, I've made it into something that I love. But there's always days where you wake up and you go, I'm knackered or I'm so sore. And that's where you just have to modify what you're going to do. Especially for someone at my level, you've got to actually listen to the body sometimes. If it's just your brain being lazy, get up, get your ass out and go and do it. Just make that, because you'll feel so much better if you just ignore that voice in your head and just go and do it anyway. But if it's your body breaking down, it's like, you wake up in the morning and your back's just gone, or, you're just knackered from work and everything else. Maybe it's time to treat yourself, have an easier session, go for a jog, go for a walk, take some time, chill out. There's got to be a balance there. Yeah.
So at that level, right, what is the balance with training and recovery for you guys? Like, how do you put a lot of emphasis on recovery? Or like, how does it work for you?
So recovery is one of the biggest things, I think, to actually getting that really elite level Olympic performance. So the difference between, say, what I'm able to do when I was leading into the Olympics, my parents sacrificed a lot for me. Basically, my dad became my full-time coach. Mum was still working full-time.
Wow.
And they supported me through that journey. I was just kind of living at home during that time as well. And being able to do that, being able to go, I'm a full-time athlete, meant that I had training in the morning, recovery time, training at midday, recovery time, training in the evening, go to bed. And it was outside of that, a lot of things do fall to the wayside. And when you think about trying to be mentally stable, I wasn't catching up with friends as much, or I wasn't going out and doing just things for enjoyment. I was so structured around, I trained, now I need to recover. Because I knew that when you train, you push your muscles to the limit. But the only time that you actually get better is during that recovery phase. That's when you actually, your body goes, oh, okay, that hurt. Let's develop ourselves to a level that won't hurt next time. And that's how you actually get better, but in stages. So recovery is so, so critical.
And when you say recovery, is it sleep? Is it like ice bath? What is it like?
So it depends what kind of sessions you're doing. There's a lot of science now saying that for, after weight sessions or heavy workouts where you're trying to induce lactic acid, that cold flush is quite good. You can flush that out. Sometimes with the endurance sessions, a lot of it can be determined person to person, whether they think, that kind of... what's it called when you take the pill but it's not a real one?
Oh yeah, I know what this is. Hang on a sec.
Total brain blanks
is it
here.
Oh shit, I forgot to.
Anyway, it's where basically your brain thinks it's going to be good for you, so it is good for you. But whether or not it actually is doing anything in terms of muscular stuff and physiological. But and it's ice baths are great, but I think the best kind of recovery is, literally just get off your feet for a bit, have some good food, good food, good nutrition, and sleep well at night. That's the biggest things. Is it, if I can go to bed having a meal that's maybe some good anti-inflammatory foods, some really good avocados or some like fatty acids that will nullify all the damage I've just done in my body. It helps you to recover. You get into a good night's sleep, and that's where you should feel great the next day, and you should be able to continue on your training. It's kind of when you neglect that good food intake, or immediate food intake, I should say, because when you train, you should really be getting that food and protein back into you within half an hour.
Yeah, replenishing the stores.
And hydration. Oh, I nearly forgot that. Hydration is massive.
Yeah.
Your body can't function without water. You need to keep pushing it. And I don't think anyone really drinks enough as they should, unless they're carrying around their water bottle continuously through the day.
I have this big 2.6 litre water bottle, and everybody laughs at me. And I'm like, I have special filtered water.
Yeah.
And I drink that all day. And then sometimes, depending on the training, on how hot it is here in Queensland, I sometimes drink more. Like, you need to. But people laugh at me. They're like, I just have a couple of bottles, like little tiny bottles or glasses. I'm like, dude,
that's not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Well, you say 2.6 litre bottle. So when I was doing my heat training leading into the Rio Olympics, I would go into a heat chamber on a treadmill for 1 hour, and they would pump it up to 36 degrees and 70% humidity. Yeah. In 1 hour, I was losing nearly 2.5 kilograms of sweat.
Oh my God.
And if you're losing 2.5 in 1 hour, it means you have to replenish around about double that or double and a half. So I need to be drinking within 5 litres in the next 3 to 4 hours.
And are you having like stuff for your electrolytes during that time, and salts, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I've got a few different things that the nutritionists have given me along the years. You pick up things that work, things that taste good, that your gut can handle, but you've always got to test that out. Yeah. So if you're ever picking up things like electrolyte, the e-shots or powder, I tend to use these little tablet things that just dissolve, and they're fantastic. But if you're out there and you're thinking about hydration might be the key, if you're getting cramping or anything, test a couple products, because testing it on your gut is always going to be the big determiner. Some people can handle a certain amount, and all different products have different amounts of electrolytes, salts, different vitamins and stuff in there as well. So, but it's very important.
I think it's super important as well. And I think, like, for myself, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like waterlogged if I haven't. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I've had too much water if I haven't replaced those electrolytes back into the system, and I feel like
a hyperhydration state.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of testing about that with athletes, endurance athletes especially, is this hyperhydration. You can drink too much, and a lot of the time when you see some athletes vomit or throw up during a race, it's because they've just had too much in.
Wow. Okay.
So as well as water, you need to be taking in glucose helps. So sometimes a sugary drink, not sugary like go and smash some Coke, like that stuff's going to just rot you from the inside out. But like something a little bit sweet, put some fruit in your drink, or mix it with some water, or put some electrolytes in, is going to make your body able to retain that water better. And rather than you just feeling like you're full of water, it's actually going to soak up to the areas that need it. And then the stuff that you don't need, you'll just be able to push it back out. But you'll feel balanced.
I think a lot of people, from my experience, just aren't self-aware.
No, yes. Self-awareness over what the body is needing rather than what it wants is massive. There's all sorts of lists that you can look up, cravings for chocolate, cravings for sugar. What is it actually that your body needs? Yeah. So just do a quick Google and check it out. You go, oh man, I would kill for some KFC right now. We'll go, okay, well that's fatty, oily, salty, meaty products. Yeah. What do you actually need? You probably need some electrolytes. You might need some good oils, some good salts, or some protein. Go and get that instead, but get it clean. Don't go and eat the rubbish stuff, and make the healthy choice for your body, because it'll thank you by recovering better and making you feel even better the next day. And
you can see that in your performance as well.
100%.
And your skin and your body just blossoms when you're
Totally.
doing the
Yeah.
right thing with your nutrition.
Always does, yeah. And you'll notice the days when you switch to this kind of mentality of eating well, you'll notice the days when you don't eat well, you'll feel way worse for it. And you'll go, oh, wow, okay, this is why I don't eat that rubbish. And then you won't want to ever do it again. So it's a real change. And yeah, very, very positive. I've found over the years of learning more about my body and what I need rather than what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed the same thing. Like when I was trying to understand, like what you said, I did a chocolate search. I was like, why do I always want chocolate? And then I would eat it, and then I go, how do I feel? And I'd mentally note myself when I ate these foods and how I was feeling about it. And then when I'd keep my diet consistent, like fruits, veggies, whatever, I'd feel really good. And then I'd go on a binge and I'd have something and I'd be like, oh, okay, all right. And so I was trying to figure out what I was missing in my food. But it's amazing the difference in how you feel. Yeah. Which I think, and capping back on sleep, what I wanted to say is like, I think you can really tell if you've completely obliterated your muscles and you haven't had enough sleep. Yeah. I get sick.
Yeah. It's something really difficult to overcome is lack of sleep. If you're doing training sessions once a day even, so I usually train 2, sometimes 3 times a day. Yeah. And I know I need to have a nap for 45 minutes to an hour in the afternoon. Yeah. And then I'll still need to get at least 9 hours of quality sleep. Yeah. So that means, you make sure that you don't drink heaps right before you go to bed. So you're waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And good turning off maybe putting your phone out of the room as well, that kind of stuff, because just having there blinking away or small little lights are going to disrupt you.
It turns on a thing in your brain and it starts waking you up. Yeah.
So you may not notice that you're waking up, but you're leaving the deep sleep which you need for recovery. So yeah, sleep is massively important. And it's something I love now. I used to hate it as a kid, when mum would always say, oh, go to bed. It's your bedtime. It's 9 p.m. Get to bed. And now I go, if anyone else is awake in the house, I'm like, it's 9 p.m. I'm going to bed. Everyone shut up.
I like legit. Oh my gosh. And Elise will tell you, we'll be out for dinner and my eyes are such. I'll still be there sitting up straight, but my eyes are shutting and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm trying to keep them. And I don't train as much as you, but
no, it's tough though.
I'm trying to keep the eyes open and I'm just like, it's so fascinating. Yeah. When you don't have a good deep sleep. Plus if you had work and stress and everything like that, I wonder why people going up and down with their health.
Yeah, massively. And, lack of sleep affects so many things, mental health, the way your entire body works. You may have gut problems. You may have, heart issues. It affects everything. So getting some good sleep is really important.
Yeah, I agree. So tell me about your training. How do you train?
Yeah.
Do you just walk or are you doing some strength training? Or
I get into a lot of it actually. I've got a very different, like an alternative style of training to what most of the endurance athletes do. Okay. A lot of walkers and distance runners love the long, slow distance where they do their Ks at well under race pace, so just super slow. Yeah. And they just do loads of them. Yeah. I hate that. I cannot stand it. I go out for more than an hour and I'm going, oh, I want to go home. Yeah. I just get so bored so quick because that's just me. I love to go hard and push myself. Yeah. So my training sessions consist a lot more of tempo work. Yeah. So pushing the body at race level for a shorter duration. Interval work. Absolutely love it. I think interval work is fantastic for anyone just starting out their training. Intervals are the best way to get fit quick and to keep the body from breaking down. You're pushing yourself slightly over your exertion level of what you want to do for, let's say, someone wants to run a 5K. So start doing some, 1 minute on, 2 minutes off, 1 minute on, 2 minutes off, and do those kind of workouts. You're going to see the results really quickly and you're probably not going to damage yourself. It's when you get into the overdoing things, I've got to do a marathon in 2 months, so I'm going to run a marathon each week. well, if you do that, you're not going to run a marathon. You're going to do it the first week, and you're going to spend the next 3 weeks in a moon boot probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too much demand and too mentally as well. You haven't conditioned yourself.
Yeah, so I always train smart in terms of I do high quality, lower loads, but I back that up with some good quality gym work. So I love to stay strong.
Yeah.
I feel better when I race, when I feel strong. So I get in the gym and I do, all of my stuff is pretty much body weight though. Yeah. So I do
like calisthenics.
Yeah, calisthenics style. Really is. I do a lot of chin up stuff. I do push ups. I do my core on the ground. And that's really where my bread and butter is. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And I feel better when I go to perform because the body just feels strong all over. There's no areas that are missing out by doing, for a lot of endurance runners, sometimes they tend to get soreness through their backs or through their shins, and a lot of it is they haven't done enough core work or glutes work. And there's always something that they're missing, but if you do just a ground work, you tend to hit everything pretty well.
And the thing that I love about calisthenics is you're building your body as one.
Yep.
And like when you do like the pull-ups and stuff like that, because you're not isolating the body muscles, you build tiny muscles everywhere and get flexibility and range throughout.
Yeah. So
I think
that's actually one of the ways, a lot of people see me doing my workouts and they think, oh, you must be like, doing something totally different to race walking, because it's not exactly specific, but I have some specific exercises that I will do for race walking. But that's stuff I do with the physio, and it's just for maintenance work. But the rest of it is all just entire body workouts. Just get the whole body working and get everything strong.
Yeah.
Because it only comes down to when people get injured and they go, oh, I didn't even know that was a muscle. And you go, well, if you'd just been doing everything, you'd be fine, Actually, one of the best things I've found is every year I go to Rainbow Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful part of the world. Absolutely amazing. And I spend a ton of time running sand dunes. Running, walking on the sand, amazing for all the small muscles through your feet, through your ankles, knees. Just think it's absolutely fantastic. If you got a sand pit out the back, or go down to South Bank, jump on the get in the beach down there and just go walk through the sand, do a few feet exercises. Fantastic. Absolutely can't.
And do you see, like
enough.
in race walking, do you see a lot of ankle injuries, like rolling ankles, and like have you experienced anything like this?
So I've stayed away from a lot of injuries throughout my career. I've seen a lot of guys who end up with usually a lot of tendinopathy stuff, because we're race walkers and they do the long, slow distance. They're doing tons and tons of Ks, constantly working. So their tendons end up being pulled off the bone from constant overuse. Yeah. And so that's the most common injury that we see.
Yeah.
For me, my kind of injuries have been silly things kind of outside the sport. I go and did Ninja Warrior back in 2016 after the Olympics, and I made it. I smashed it through to the semi-finals, hit the buzzer up on the warped wall and stuff. But I've on this hand here, I've got a dodgy finger here now that's got a piece of broken bone or something in there. And the doctors they haven't said it's a problem or anything. They said, it doesn't stop anything. But I hit the bottom of the warped wall, smashed my finger, and it's been like that ever since. So, but I mean, that's, in my sport, totally fine. Training smart, doing the strengthening, you should be fine.
And do you think that's because of the training that you do? Like, because you're not doing the long repetitive Ks that you are doing, you're being smarter with your training, doing the shorter, harder. Do you reckon that might be it?
Yeah, definitely. It's as well because I've learned what my body responds well to.
Okay, yeah.
And I find that doing the long, slow stuff, I tend to get more fatigued, and sometimes it compromises, the recovery for the rest of the day. But my short, sharp sessions, I can fit more in, and I can get more quality in that way. And so it's always going to be very personal as well to each person. So I say to everyone out there, if they want to run their first 5, they want to run their first marathon, whatever it is, whatever the jump is you want to make, really go and speak to someone who's either done it before or knows their knows the whole structure of how to put a training together for individuals. And they'll do a few things just to trial you and say, well, try this and come back and tell me how you felt the next day. Because that's the important part. Because that'll tell you whether you respond well to speed and interval stuff or whether you respond better to distance. Because some people actually will respond better to that low, slow aerobic training as well. So it's a tough balance to find, and it's always going to be different for everyone, which is tough. Yeah.
We're all individuals.
Yeah, very much so.
I think that's the importance of having a coach as well, is so that they can specifically write your program and have it designed.
Yeah, 100%. And this is obviously for a very elite level.
Yeah.
You know, there's basic grassroots programs. I think a lot of the interval work stuff is great for anyone just wanting to just have a go. They're not looking to be the next, world's best, but they just want to do it.
Just want to get fit and healthy.
Yeah.
So tell me, I know that in 2018, when you were at the Commonwealth Games, that you said that race changed your life.
Yeah.
Tell me about what happened.
So that race was the moment where everything kind of, the light bulb moment, the realization where everything just kind of changed for me. 2016, when I won my Olympic medal, I kind of came off the back of that and I thought, wow, this is going to be an amazing experience. I'm going to be able to push forward from here and there'll be no stopping me. It'll be fantastic. And after a couple months, 6-7 months in after that, I was going, I'm lacking motivation. I don't know what my next goal is. How do I pick myself up and move forward again? I was experiencing all sorts of rejection in terms of I was reaching out, trying to get support through sponsorship, just even get some shoes or go work out at a gym with someone, and it was constantly getting rejected. So I was kind of having my self-worth just beaten into the ground as well, or what I was feeling of myself, I was getting beaten into the ground.
Yeah.
But in reality, rejection's part of life. And I realize that now. But
in the time when it's all happening at once, it can be like...
Very much. It can be super daunting to take on everything, to work hard and to have it all just kind of get flipped to the side or pushed aside. And it was really, really difficult at that time. I went through that 2017 year and it was a huge roller coaster in terms of I was spending some days where I would train really, really hard and things were going well. Yeah. And then some days where I was just a mess. I was, waking up and saying, oh, yeah, I went and trained here. And I'd tell my coach and tell my wife, I'll be like, yeah, I've done my training for the day. But really, I'd just been sat inside doing nothing, just feeling sorry for myself. And I didn't know why. I had no idea. And this kind of progressed, got worse and worse to the point where I was out training some nights and I would have suicidal thoughts and I would be freaking myself out about this, going, okay, this isn't right. Like, why do I feel so crap? I'm an Olympian. I'm a medalist. I should be feeling on top of the world, which made me feel guilty and made me feel even worse. And it was a huge cycle. Yeah. And, eventually I stopped training on certain circuits, or I wouldn't go out to training because I feared that I couldn't be trusted to go past a train line or across a bridge. Yeah. And it was just ridiculous. And at some point I just started breaking down and I went, I've got to see a doctor. I was kind of breaking down and my wife was like, what's wrong? Yeah. And I was so scared that, just reaching out and asking for help, I've always said, it felt like as a man, like this masculinity, that if I went and asked for help, it would mean that my nuts had fallen off and I would never get it back. It was just, you just totally emasculated by going and asking for help or telling someone that you feel like shit, because you should be always be able to push through and be strong like a man and keep going. And then the minute that I walked into the doctor's office and I went, honestly, that I've felt bad. I was like, I feel like an idiot being here, but I just feel bad. I feel really bad, sad about things. Yeah. And he did a little questionnaire and he's like, mate, you've got depression. That's what you're going through. And I went, oh. And I was like, well, can you fix that? And he was like, it's going to take a while, but it's entirely up to you. It's something that we can work through and we can, manage. And I went, oh, I feel heaps better already. Just from that, just from knowing that I was able to talk to someone and he didn't say, oh, you're an idiot, go and tough it up, get back out there.
Yeah. And have an understanding of what was going on as well.
And so I guess through 2017 was the year that I was diagnosed with depression. It was a year that I did every time I stepped onto a track, I did a personal best.
Wow.
I was racing better and better, but I felt crap during when I raced. I went to the World Championships in London, set a personal best, finished 6th.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I stepped onto that line and I wasn't fussed. In the final 5K, when I usually get competitive, I don't want to fight for it and I want to give everything I got.
Yeah.
I was sat in the front pack and I just kind of let them go and I just walked on to the finish line and went, oh, cool. Off I go. I wasn't really fussed. And that was not me at all. Yeah. So when it came to the 2018 Commonwealth Games, I had all these anxieties and doubts still running through my mind. I was like, oh, you know, you're an athlete who with a mental illness, like these guys are the strongest, toughest of the tough. Yeah. I hadn't yet really spoken out to anyone about what I'd been through. So it was still all just on me. I hadn't even reached out to my coach and my dad at the time.
So no one knew except for
me and my wife and the doctor.
Wow.
Because I was so scared that if everybody else knew about it, it would see me as weak and I would be admitting that I'm not as strong as what an Olympian is. I thought that being an Olympian and being a man, you had to be just indestructible. Yeah. And I couldn't really face that. I could kind of get better, but yeah. And then standing on the start line of the Commonwealth Games, I had there was 6,000 people or something that turned out to watch that race at Currumbin Beach. All my family, all the supporters. And in my head, I was going, you're going to get beaten. This is like, you've trained rubbish. You know, you've had all this problems going on in your head. It's a waste of time. Just to give up. You should just pull out halfway and say, you know, oh, I had a sore back or something. Yeah. And
this is just as you're about to...
Just as I'm stepping onto the start line. Yeah. And I went, you know what? Like, I'm sick of this. I got angry. I went, oh, this is my Commonwealth Games. I'm going to fight for this. And I'm going to control the way that I feel from now on. This is my, you know, me taking control. Yeah. And as I hit the button on my watch and the gun went and I just went and I went, I'm going to go as fast as I can from the start. If these guys want to hang on and I blow up, I don't care because this is a decision I've made and it's my decision. It's not the voice in my head saying what I should do. This is me actually being like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And I just went with it, went as hard as I could. You know, I had this amazing race with Tom. He was one of my best mates as well, the English bloke. Yeah. And we come into that last 300, 400 meters and the crowd was just amazing. You know, leading every lap, they were getting louder and louder. And I was trying to put my head down and shut it out. I was hurting. I was trying to, I didn't really want to let them down or anything, but I was scared of getting distracted by it and going too early or messing it up. Yeah. Because I'd worked so hard to that point. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the last 400 meters, they just erupted. And I just went with them. And it was just, I had nothing leading into that last lap. And they just brought me home. It was so amazing. It was such an amazing feeling. Yeah. And I felt like I could have done another 20K right there and then. Yeah. And I just went as hard as I could, put 20 meters, 30 meters on Tom, and that was it. I was going for a gold medal at a Commonwealth Games, and I broke a Commonwealth record that was held by Nathan Deeks, one of Australia's greatest ever race walkers and an idol to me. And it was just absolutely unreal.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible.
And since that day, you know, I've pushed on and I've had this mentality of I control how I feel, what I do every day. Yeah. That's what I can control. Yeah. Everything outside of that can, you know, do whatever it likes. Yeah. And I stopped worrying about those external things. And I've been a lot better person for it since.
Yeah. That's incredible. And I feel like in every situation you can see, like what you're saying, you can control the situation or you can let it control you.
Yeah. 100%. So you can let things happen around you and get frustrated by them, or if they happen and you just adapt and make the best out of the situation that's there. You know, there's always a way around it.
Yeah. And I think looking at like how can this benefit me, or how can I use this in a positive way to drive forward,
always
is where you succeed. And then feeling it like you were in that last lap, that is just because you would have felt so much emotion of that, year or 2 years building up.
Yeah.
That it would have been the best release for you.
It was huge. And then, leading off the back of that, you know, it was just so uplifting and so amazing to have everyone there and actually supporting and so just involved with it, which was just amazing. And then when I continued to train in Brisbane, you know, people would recognize me there, and it was no longer like, as I'd go past going like, oh, that's a bit weird. Is that race walking? That's a strange thing to see out here. It was, oh, that's Dane. Like, go. Yeah, good work. And there was this kind of, you know, a little bit more of a community about it. And people were like, oh, that's really cool. Like, you're doing well. And that, again, like that makes you feel good from an outside kind of thing. But I was already at that point where I went, you know what, I'm good with me just doing me now. Yeah. And from there I was able to speak out about everything that had gone on over the past couple of years, and everyone was like, holy crap, man, like how did you even turn up to race? Yeah. And I was like, I have no idea. I have no way of saying how did I get better or how did I get there. It was just I took every day and just got through each day. Yeah. And then eventually it just clicked. Yeah. So, and now I'm in this amazing position where I've taken on a role as a Lifeline custodian. Yeah. I'm able to kind of help the community back and talk to other guys in sport, especially, or guys in jobs that are very, very masculine still, you know, a lot of work, labor jobs where you go, guys, like, you're actually being really, really, you know, it's more courageous to actually stand up and speak out, because then you can, you know, you're looking after your family and your loved ones by actually getting the help for yourself. Because imagine right now we have the worst statistics ever for suicide in men, and it is the worst it's ever been, and it's far worse than any other demographic. Wow. And it's because we have such this masculine identity that stops us from actually getting the support and help. But as soon as one bloke stands up and speaks, another one will, and another one will, and the conversation spreads, and they can all stand up and feel strong and courageous in the fact that they've been vulnerable. There's an absolute beauty to vulnerability, and it's something I think all, not just men, but everyone should get around and feel it. You know, it feels amazing to be able to speak up and to be able to say, I've had a pretty crap day, or I've done it tough, regardless of what you think your circumstances are, because that comes into it a lot. Is a lot of guys go, well, there's worse people out there than me. But that doesn't matter. It's how you're handling the situation right now. You know, it's totally different person to person. Yeah, everyone's individual. And I think admitting that you're not perfect is a massive thing. And I think we get stuck in this world of Instagram, Facebook, everything like that we have to be this image of being perfect. And especially men, they don't want to it seems feminine. They don't want to do that. No, very much. I've struggled a lot with the whole Instagram stuff. Yeah. I realized a few years ago that because what I was constantly being told by sponsors, you know, oh, you don't have enough followers and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, it's because I don't really like getting into my Instagram, because I don't find it real. It's just a moment that someone's posting about a nice thing that happened that day. Yeah. So a lot of my posts these days are, you know, about the tough things that I've been doing. You know, I'm like, oh, it was a tough training session today. It was a tough race today. Oh, I went to the shops and I took my dog with me in a bag or something like that. You know, it's just silly things like, and I find more like natural root in that. So I'm enjoying that. But at the same time, you know, it's become this kind of tool. You have to use it, especially as an athlete. You know, it's the way you market yourself now. So I've got to adapt to that as well and play the game. Yeah, you do. And so tell me, if there's anyone listening, how do they get involved with the Lifeline? Like, how does that work? So Lifeline right now is they have their major work is with call centers. You can call anytime, 13, 11, 14, any time of day, 24 hours a day. They will be there to help you. It doesn't have to be a total emergency. It doesn't have to be a crisis. It doesn't have to be you're standing on the side of a bridge ready to go. It could just be you're sat at home. It's been a really tough day. You're struggling. You can't really speak to your family about it or your friends. You just want someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And these people are there totally without judgment, giving up their time to help people.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely fantastic. And I think everyone should just, if you're going through something tough, just give them a call if you think there's no other option out there to talk to. But in terms of what I'm doing, I'm trying to reach out to the community, do engagements around the place throughout Brisbane. On the 5th, which is the 5th of December coming up, which is it's a Lifeline Giving Day. It's going to be a huge community appeal day. I'm going to be involved with that, and it's all about giving back to the community and helping those around us. But I think the best way to help is really educating everyone on understanding how people around us are acting, or how people are just showing a bit more compassion, I guess it is. I think that's where I want to see the future is if we can all be a Lifeline call center to somebody else, just a passerby walking on the street, or you sat at a bus station, someone next to you looks like they're doing it tough. Just be Australian, be proud to be like, hey, like I can't lend a hand, but I could lend an ear. Do you want to just have a chat to me?
Yeah.
It's so simple, so easy, and it can make such a massive difference in someone's life. And I think that, it's something Australians are really proud of is always lending a hand. The bushfires or floods, we always lend a hand to those in need. Yeah, you help out your neighbours. It's community. Yeah. But the best thing we could be doing as well is looking after them mentally. Instead of, getting pissed off at the bloke in front of you who's sat a bit too long at a traffic light because he's off somewhere else. Think, he's probably had a rough day. That's why be a little bit more compassionate. It doesn't all have to be go time and rush on your schedule. And, let's just be a kinder nation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like with a lot of people, like you're right, people are busy. So sometimes it's nice just to take a step back and realize that not everyone's in the same world that you're in. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So Dane, tell me, what's your next big goal?
My next big goal, leading into the Tokyo Olympics 2020, I've qualified for the games already. I've got my qualifying time. 1 hour 21. Yeah. Yeah. So I've got my qualifying time. I've got a nationals coming up February 9th. I think it is February 9th. I'll have to check on that. That's pretty important. Yeah. So that's the qualification date where we go and race. And if you finish first or second with a qualifying time, you're straight into the team. Yeah. It's basically we start building up now for the Tokyo Olympics, which I'm so excited about. I think it's going to be fantastic. Tokyo is going to do an amazing job. I absolutely love it over there.
The weather cold when you go?
No, it's going to be hot. It's going to be middle of July. End of July, start of August is the Olympic Games. So for them, it's going to be hot and humid, very much like Brisbane. Yeah. So
be ready.
Yeah, I'm going to be excited about that as well.
Yeah. So everyone that's listening, I'm going to post Dane's social media tag so that when these events come up, you can jump on board and support him along the way.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. And thanks for coming on the podcast today.
No, thank you. It was absolutely awesome.
I love listening to everything that you had to share. And I'm sure if there's anyone out there listening that is feeling like they're having a bit of an off day, we'll pop the Lifeline number underneath that you can give a call, or just turn to your mate and have a chat.
Yeah, just have a chat to someone. Otherwise, 13, 11, 14. They also do text messaging as well.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Very tech savvy.
Yeah. Up with the new times.
No, but thank you so much for having me on today.
No, thank you. Thanks for listening in, guys. If you're on Apple, please leave a 5-star written review. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, I'll see you next week with the next inspiring story.